You are about to hear a podcast from the Sussex Disability Football League. It is titled Formation and Growth.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the first in a series of short podcasts made by and on behalf of the Sussex Disability Football League. While we can't promise a professional top-notch production, we can assure you that we will try our very best to make them fun and informative. Throughout these podcasts, we aim to shine a light on all the people and aspects of the league and the community that it strives to serve, represent and fight for. We have called this first podcast Formation and Growth, and we hope that it does everything that it says on the tin. It will offer a fascinating insight into how the league was formed, why it was formed, how it evolved, the barriers it has overcome and those that it still has to beat. We speak of the clubs, the players and the volunteers. My name is Steve Atkins and I'm very lucky to be the current chairman of the Sussex Disability Football League. Due to the current COVID-19 situation, we are in a virtual studio today, and in this virtual studio I'm joined by three people, all of whom are pioneers, fighters, visionaries and ambassadors for disability football in Sussex. We'll start with Claire. Hello Claire.
Hello.
All right. Claire first got involved in the Sussex Disability Football League in 2012. It was in a role job as a football development officer for Sussex FA that she led the development of the league from those early days as it grew in team numbers and became an independent league with its own committee, identity and funding streams, although still reliant on the County FA's support. Claire has always believed that football for all should really be that, for all. Her vision for the league was to provide safe and structured competition to allow any person in Sussex with a disability who for whatever reason was not able to access mainstream football, a place to play with qualified referees, quality pitches and appropriately framed competition. Claire started that vision in 2012, gathering much support along the way till passing the baton on in 26-17, when the league started their first playing season on the 3G at Culver Road. She has always kept a close eye on the league and loves seeing the photos and videos produced. Also thoroughly enjoying popping back to a league day or a presentation to see everyone involved, the old timers and the new. Welcome Claire. Hello Pam Chandler.
Hi, Steve.
Pam, who in early 2014, while working for Chelsea's Foundation and their disability department, was approached by Claire to help create a Sussex Disability Football League independent of the Sussex County Football Association, becoming its secretary, welfare officer and fixture secretary, all along working with Claire. Pam also helped to set up the league's adult representative side, which later became the county's very successful official rep squad. Pam is still heavily involved with the rep team and is currently the registration secretary for the league. Jade. Hello Jade. Jade Arkham. You all right? Jade has been with the Sussex County FA as a Disability Development Officer since 2016. The role is linked to the league, so it was fitting that she became its secretary soon after. She has worked very hard to build on the great strides that had gone before and has overseen a sharp and steady rise in participation. As secretary, she is also the league's most trusted first port of call. Welcome, Jade.
Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. Right, I'd like to start with you, Claire, and ask you to tell us how the idea came about at Sussex County FA to offer a football league to people with disability.
Okay, well, thank you, Steve, and thank you for those introductions. It's nice just to come back and actually just have a chat with everyone and reminisce a little bit about how everything started, because it's always... Sometimes we kind of move on with everything and it's quite nice just to kind of look back sometimes and just see how everything evolved. So great to be here with everyone. But as you said in your introduction, I started in 2012 and the league had been running for a few years before that. So I believe in 2009 was when there was some funding from the FA that was known as the Ability Counts funding. That was given to county FAs all around the country just to try and set up some structure for disability competition. In Sussex, because Albion in the community was so strong in delivering their disability programme, that money from that came to Sussex went to Albion in the community to give them some of that opportunity for them to get their satellite clubs together that were spread around Sussex to come together and play some sort of formal matches. So when I joined Sussex FA in 2012 as a football development officer, part of my role was disability football, so one of that came under kind of looking after this league. I remember the first time that I went to Sussex Leisure Centre, which was where we used to run the league before it moved to Colbert Road. And having spent a bit of time just kind of observing what was going on, chatting to the players, getting to know the managers and coaches, it felt like everything just kind of needed to take that step forward. And I think often with these projects, as things evolve, sometimes just that change in people, and in this case very much a kind of change in demand. So at that time there's probably about 6 regular teams involved in the league, and there were so many more players around Sussex that wanted to play and have some like formal football to play in. So at the time I kind of had this vision that we wanted a league to genuinely cater for everyone, and it also felt like at the time the feedback that we were getting from players was that they really wanted their football to feel like they were getting the same deal as any other player that was playing in the league in Sussex. And really that was kind of not just them getting the same deal, but actually a better deal if we could. So as we kind of developed the league, I'd been involved in developing leagues before with women and girls football, so I had quite a clear view in my mind that if we wanted to move things forward, that meant getting a bit more structure to the league, having a few more rules and regulations, which probably threw up our first challenges in the early days, just in terms of some bits of conflict around, if you're going to have a competition that's got awards and trophies at the end of it, then everything needs to be fair, and that means you have rules and you have to implement them, which wasn't always easy in the early days. And I think our biggest challenge, and Pam will back me on this as well, was that having players sticking with the same team, and if they needed to move teams for some reason, that actually we could transfer them properly. And also as the league grew and grew, the challenge with ability bands kind of came in, so making sure that players and teams where possible were kind of appropriately matched. So there was this kind of push from the FA as well to make these leagues sustainable, so they weren't solely reliant on county FAs or community trusts, for obvious reasons that if staff or funding was cut, then the leagues needed to be sustainable, because we wanted the league to be around for years and decades to come, which as things are developing, it feels like this league has really kind of got some strong foundations now, which is fantastic. So in the 2013-14 season was when we set up the Sussex Disability League as you know it today. So it started as an independent league that season with a committee of volunteers, a new logo, website, branding. Everything that you see now is what was started back then, still with the strong backing of the County FA and Albion in the community. But the new setup helped us to attract more funding, and particularly at that time, our first chairman of the league, Tony Kybert, really kind of came in and helped attract more funding, which just meant we could do more, and it made everything a bit more sustainable. Before I finish and let other people speak about how things have kind of moved on, just a kind of mention of 2 key people as well as Tony was Matt Major and Harold Lawrence, who at that time were both kind of major players in helping us to make that league independent. So Harold was involved in disability football for years, and especially known in and around East Sussex and the 1066 specials. But Harold, as well as being able to offer a lot of advice and support, also his business became the first sponsor of the league. And as part of that, as well as being able to offer us some funding, also this part of that kind of in-kind sponsorship deal was that the chief exec of his company designed the logo and set up the website for us, which was a massive help in terms of just kind of getting it out there. And as for Matt, everyone that's involved in the league now and has been for the past few years will know what a massive support and presence Matt has been. He first came to a league day about after I gave a presentation at the County FA Council about needing a bit more support for the league. What we didn't realise at the time was about a month later he then became chairman of Sussex County FA. But both Matt and Tony have been like massive advocates for the league amongst the whole footballing community in terms of getting the word out there, letting people know what we're doing, and sometimes asking those questions of people as to why they aren't supporting it or what they're doing for disability football, which has really kind of got people talking about it and raised the profile massively. So for both of those two, and for Lawrence and for Harold, sort of certainly early on in the league, they've been like a massive support.
So there was a lot of drive, wasn't there, to start with?
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone could see a need. It was just kind of getting it up and running and started.
Yeah, Pam, you've seen the league grow from its inception. What have you seen? More positive than negatives?
Definitely more positive than negative. I think, as Claire said, there were some key people that really helped get the league off the ground with websites, logos, and so much support, just generally being there to help. So if I go back to, I think it was 2010 was the last time I saw the league as it was, if you can call it that. It wasn't an official league then, but the fixtures, shall we say, that happened before I left to go and work somewhere else. It was literally, as Claire said, the AITC sort of hub teams show up and we bid them up and they play some fixtures, which was great at the time, really great. But by the time Claire asked me to get back involved in the 2013-14 kind of season, you could see it had grown and it needed something more. So to now see, if I think back to 2013-14 and even back to 2010, to see the amount of teams, players, volunteers and support we have, and like in this season alone, I know it's been difficult we've had to cut it short with the COVID situation, but the amount of talk amongst the players, shall we say, about football still, it means so much to them, and it's really, the league has just massively grown, and it's not been easy, and it's needed that support. It's needed people like you, Steve, and Jade as well, who came in a bit later, people like Jess who volunteer their time. There's some others, I'm probably forgetting lots of people, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's needed those people to help it grow, and to see it now is amazing. Not there yet, but we're getting there.
That's right, yeah, we're not there yet. It's pretty important to a lot of people, isn't it, Jade, nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've come in at a stage when it's fairly easy for me, because everyone before me, so Pam, Claire, Karina, everyone that was here has built the league up so much that now it just kind of runs itself. We've got so many players, and all it is now is finding out what do those players actually want, rather than just continuing to bring in new people. It's saying, okay, this is your league. How can we now make this better for you? I think the adult side of things is growing quite well, and we're able to add in different types of football, like the rep football that Pam is organising with Ian. But really now, I suppose our focus on development is with the youth sides. We've got lots of different youth teams, but it would be nice to get more involved if we can, because I'm sure there's plenty of people out there in Sussex that are just waiting to play football, and we're ready to accommodate them.
Yeah. And of course, we've got the junior rep side game against Chelsea coming up, which was meant to be in April, but we'll be able to do that soon.
Should be a very good game, I imagine, when it happens.
And there was a lot of interest for that, wasn't there?
Yeah, a lot of interest, because it's another opportunity for those players that play maybe once or twice a month to be part of another team and have extra fixtures against teams like Chelsea.
Yeah. That'd be good. It all grows the spirit and stuff. Claire, can I take you back to the time when it started the league? Is it true there was male-only players? Is that right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, when we first started, and I mentioned some of the challenges we had with implementing rules. One of them at that time in the first season was that the rules of adult football were that it was still, you could only play single gender, so it was male or female. And the majority of players in the league were male, so that was one of the sort of overriding rules in football, so we had to stick with it, and it always broke my heart. And I particularly remember there was a lady from who played for Out There Crawley, whose name was Emma, and I can still picture her because she came every match day with her teammates, dressed in her full kit with her shin pads and her boots, and she always used to come up to me and say, "Can I play today?" And it used to break my heart because I had to say, "No, you can't." And it was very black and white. I couldn't make excuses to her or try and justify why that was the rule, because that was the rule. And sadly, if she had played and she'd got hurt, then that would have caused all sorts of problems for the league. But what I wish I could, if I ever spoke to her today, would be to tell her how much her influence really drove me on to try and make a difference, because I think I would have done anyway, but just having that kind of in my heart of like, we have to change this because it's just not fair. And I think at the time there's probably about 3. There was Abby, who plays in the league now, and a lady called Tyler that played for Lisa's Albion team. And I think it was happening in county leagues kind of around the region, so there was a few of us that was started to kind of knock on the doors of the FA in terms of letters and speaking out at meetings and saying, like, we really need to change this. Like, yes, in an ideal world, we want a female-only league, but we're just not there. And these players are playing with their friends that happen to be male in training, and so, you know, why can't they play in matches? So it did change. I think it was the season after that we were then able to get a pilot dispensation for some of those women to play. So they started to play that following season, and then after that the rules did change within disability football to say that actually you can play mixed gender, which was fantastic because a lot of those players were in the lower divisions, so physically they were no different than their male players, and I couldn't ever see any, like, we weren't putting them in danger. I think if we were, you know, if someone had turned up and they were going to play in the Premier League and I thought that actually that it wouldn't be safe for them, then we would have stopped them doing that. But yeah, it just didn't make sense. So yeah, that was one of the early challenges that we overcome. And it's great now when you see there are more females playing in the league, but there still needs to be more.
Of course it does. Football for all, Claire. Eh?
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely.
And I'm an advocate generally of women and girls football. So yeah, definitely. I think I passed that one on. Well, I mean, Jade and Pam both feel exactly the same. We need to be making sure that we do.
Yeah, thank you. Pam, would you like to speak a little bit about the formation of the league rep side, the adults, and then its transition into the county rep, please?
Yeah, so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Claire, around the 2014-15 season, roughly, we were generally asked if we would enter a team into the South East Cup. And what was happening, and as you know, Steve, from the experience yourself, what tends to happen is the county select a team playing within their Disability Football League, and they go on to enter the South East Cup. So teams like Maidstone, Folkestone and Victor, Reading, they would enter the South East Cup. When it was, I remember a committee meeting when it was put to the committee, we were kind of saying we would like to give players the opportunity rather than a team, if that makes sense. So for some, 11-a-side football would have been difficult. So we kind of focused on the players that we knew would be able to play 11-a-side football. And I say that with understanding things like offside rule, which in the league we don't play, and various things. Well, we do now with the 9-a-side, but at that time we didn't have that.
Yeah.
So we didn't have offside rules and things like that. So again, as Claire said, it was early stages, so many of the teams were in some way linked to Albion in the community. So in order to perhaps get a buy-in, it was Ian and Chris Day who initially coached the team, with me kind of helping with general organisation as I do. So that first year, we got a league rep team, and I think Toby Kybet spoke to Matt Major, as you know, Claire's mentioned, who's always supported the league and the rep team. and enabled us to use the Sussex County FA rep team kit because we wouldn't have had a kit to play in. So off we went, first time ever. We hosted the first round at Sussex because the league was still based at Sussex then. And I think, I can't remember all the teams in there, but I think it was Sussex and possibly Bournemouth that went through in that round. And that season we got to the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals were held at Bisham Abbey. And as all rep team support and supporters and rep team players will know, we faced Reading. Reading's always been a tricky team for us, and unfortunately we didn't progress any further. Well, it was a good start. It was a good. We got 11 players on the pitch. Just sometimes, you know, we managed to find some. Again, with the thanks of Tony and Harold, find some funding to travel to Bisham Abbey, and we had a go. So the following season, Chris Day said he no longer wanted to be involved, which kind of just left Ian. And it was just like, oh, okay, I'll help you. I've been helping with the organisation. I'll help you with the coaching and stuff like that. So again, it was still a league rep team at that time, and we kind of again managed to get a few more players from a few different teams. They'd seen what happened the season before; they understood what it was. So we had a bit more of a mixture of players from the league,
and there was interest growing.
Yeah, so and we had a bit more of a representation of the league rather than perhaps a few of the bigger clubs, which was nice but also challenging. Just trying to think, I can't remember whether we must have hosted a round. I'm sure we did, Claire.
You did. I was there. Yeah,
around every year. I seem to remember playing at Culver Road actually. Because
I've got a vague with Maidstone. There was definitely Maidstone was involved that year again, and it was at Culver Road. So I think that year again it was quarterfinals. We got to, and it's just generally progressed from there. In 2017-18, I think. 2017-18, I think, was when Matt Major kind of approached me and said, how would you feel about the rep team becoming an official Sussex County FA rep team? And I loved the idea, but I did worry that there were no other Sussex County FA disability rep teams. So what was the impact of that? And Matt's words to me were, we need to set the bar. We need to be the people to say, hang on, other county FAs, you need to get your act together and create this rep team. And a few conversations with Matt and Jade a bit later, we had an official Sussex County FA rep team. It's been alongside all the other county FA rep teams that Sussex have. And from a league point of view, it helped with our finances as well, because Sussex County FA arranged all the travel and various things like that. Another important improvement that came in about that time was we found this amazing goalkeeper coach in the name of Steve Atkins, who came along one day and had a look, and I was like, do you want to get involved, Steve? And Steve always saying yes. Next thing we know, we've got 2 coaches and a goalkeeper coach, and we never thought we'd get that. So with Steve's help, the team progressed. Goalkeepers, we before we were having to put outfield players in goal because we were struggling to recruit goalkeepers. We had one in Rob Jesse who's fairly consistent, but there were times when we put outfield players in goal. But getting a goalkeeper coach now, I can't remember how many showed up to the last training session, Steve. About 4 or 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very popular.
Yeah.
And like you
It's fan group then, is it?
it's just another aspect of it. And like you say, we're going to county or even the league rep itself, but going on to county rep, it just puts disability football on the same footing as every other football.
Exactly, and which is what all the players wanted. As Jade said, as Claire said previously, disability players want to play football like everybody else. So, but with the inclusion of the amazing goalkeeper coach, we managed to win our first South East Cup that season, and again the following season. So, Steve, you're not going anywhere, mate, because you're obviously providing a cup for us.
Right. That's good.
But yeah, it's grown and it's amazing. And again, it wouldn't have happened without the support of people like yourself, Steve, Jade, Matt Major, who was there when it was a league rep team and always there. He's always asking county members and directors to come along and watch. And it's, as with the league, it's more than just football. You get to see these young adults grow. You get to see their families grow. You get to see homeless people get into homes. You get to, and it becomes so much more than that. And especially with this COVID situation, I've really seen that recently. And the players coming together to support each other and help each other.
That's right. Because like all football, it's a community, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. Well, we're hoping to replicate the rep side, Jade, for the our lower leagues like Division 1 and Championship stuff, forming a team like that as well as the juniors to give them some something to play on the shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to recognise that we've spent a lot of time working with our adults and developing that section, that we haven't actually realised that by doing that, we've now got a huge pool of players who are role models to the younger generation. So it's really about time now that when we focus on the juniors, the adults are there to encourage them, to show them what they can do if they keep trying as well. So by having the junior rep team, they'll then be able to step into the adult team eventually, and they'll be comfortable with that environment as well. So I think it's just really important that, you know, we are a junior and an adult league, but we are just one league and we do work together.
Brilliant, exactly. The community again, fantastic. I've just got one last question for all three of you, and Claire can go first on this, I think. Where do you think the league should be in 5 years' time?
Wow. I mean, these questions are always a challenge, aren't they, as to kind of where they are. I think with the situation at the moment with COVID, it's obviously thrown a challenge to everyone in the football community with a bit of uncertainty. And I think the important thing over the next 12 months, as you've mentioned about community, is keeping everyone together and keeping people talking and making sure that those that are maybe, and I guess a lot of the players and coaches will be at home shielding at the moment, knowing that they're not forgotten and that, you know, the league is still doing things. So like doing these podcasts is fantastic. But I think one of the things that's really important, and I guess it comes down to this, where it wants to be in 5 years, is just making sure that those that have a disability have got a voice in shaping the league, and that the things keep evolving and listening to them. I think Jade's done some great work in recent years around developing kind of coaches and referees and match day helpers and things. So I think on the pitch stuff needs to keep evolving, but actually for that, where we want to be in 5 years' time is the whole of the community around the league. And there's going to be, you know, players that have played in the league that are now, you know, maybe becoming retiring or not wanting to play anymore. And I think keeping them in the league would be a massive thing. So yeah, definitely keeping it going, but keep the whole community together and develop all aspects of football and the league.
Good, thank you, Claire. That's brilliant. Pam?
Similar to Claire with the COVID situation, obviously it's just keeping everyone going themselves with the podcast, keep communicating with everyone. I think long term, again, it's a similar answer to Claire. We've had inclusive level 1 courses. It would be nice if those coaches on those courses could, like you said earlier, Steve and Jade, perhaps go and support the coaching of some of the junior teams and like you said, be role models or be involved in the league in some other way that they're comfortable, because there's some very good coaches coming through on those inclusive level 1 courses. I'd also, and I've said this before to you, Steve, so it won't come as a surprise, a lot of grassroots clubs feel more inclusive if they have boys and girls teams or men's and women's teams. I think that needs to be challenged. I think that will help the league, and I think the league and Jade in her role as Sussex Disability Development Officer can help change that perception, and perhaps include disability football. The Pledge Project did really well when that was going to raise some awareness to perhaps some of the clubs who had never considered disability football or didn't know anything about it. But yeah, I'd like to see some more input from grassroots clubs within the Disability Football League. And I think that would help the juniors, the adults, coaches, referees, the whole league as it is, just to grow and develop further.
Yeah, thank you, Pam. Very good. Thank you. Jade?
Well, last but not least.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, yes.
I think for me, I would just like to see the same faces that I see now still involved in football, obviously along with new faces. But I'd also like to see more people come in to watch the game and getting involved, because it's the same for the four of us. Once we started with the league and we started watching it, we couldn't stop, because it's so much fun. It's so enjoyable. And so, yeah, I would just really like to see more and more people there. I mean, at the moment we've got some great sponsors. We've got the DYT, which is the Driver Youth Trust in particular, who are really, really helpful and supportive. They've been down a few times and they've really enjoyed it. So yeah, if I could get more and more people there to watch it and be involved, that would just be great. Brilliant.
Huh? Roll on 2025. Claire will be there as well, won't you, Claire, with your yellow shirt on?
Absolutely.
Well, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to our esteemed panel, Claire, Pam and Jade, for giving up your time and to share your obvious passion and knowledge with us. I hope that all of you who have listened and enjoyed this as much as I have. If any of you would like to be involved in future podcasts, please email our secretary Jade, whose details are on the website. It'll be a little bit of fun. I'd just like to end with the first piece of advice I was given by Tony White, my goalkeeping coach many, many years ago. In this present climate, I feel it is very apt today. Stay safe, stay cool, and don't forget the ball. Goodbye.
The panel you heard were Pam Chandler, Jade Harker and Claire Nichols. This has been a proper football production for the Sussex Disability Football League.